Many conspiracy theories have nothing to do with politics. Some are about celebrities, some about health fads, and some explain why your Wi-Fi dies the moment you microwave popcorn. People love a juicy secret. A conspiracy theory is just a story that blames a hidden group for something odd. It's not always a shadowy government plot. Stick around, and first we'll show why these non-political theories spread so fast, share everyday examples you'll recognize, and give 3 quick questions to tell a wild rumor from something worth worrying about. So you can spot the red flags without sounding like a lecturer and maybe even win one argument at a party. Defining conspiracy theories. A conspiracy theory is an explanation that says a hidden group secretly planned or caused an important event, and it usually replaces the straightforward answer with a story about cover-ups and hidden motives. These explanations often point to a handful of odd facts and then build a large hidden plot around them. They claim secret actors are pulling strings behind the scenes, and they position the official account as either naive or deliberately deceptive. Common features show up again and again. Reliance on secret knowledge, cherry-picked evidence, and connections drawn between things that might be unrelated. Sometimes the pattern looks convincing because small coincidences are stitched together into a big narrative. For example, a neighborhood rumor that the city planted listening devices in streetlights after a few people mentioned odd lights is not the same as proof. It's a chain of guesses rather than solid evidence. Believers often treat any contradiction as more proof of the cover-up instead of a reason to rethink their idea. That makes the claim hard to disprove. Human thinking habits help explain why these ideas spread. People look for patterns and assign intention, especially when events feel scary or confusing. Shortcuts like trusting stories that fit our worries or ignoring facts that don't fit are normal. If someone expects danger from a group, they will notice every little link and ignore the rest. A simple example: if you suspect your phone is listening, you'll remember times an Anno Domini matched a conversation and forget the countless times it didn't. Distinguishing a conspiracy theory from reasonable skepticism is practical and evidence-based. Real conspiracies can and do happen, and they leave traces: documents, credible witnesses, legal records, or verifiable internal communications. Claims that rely only on "it makes sense if you think about it," or on anonymous, unverified sources deserve more scrutiny. Insist on independent verification. Demand clear, testable evidence rather than stories that bend in every new direction. When evaluating a claim, ask whether the idea would change if new evidence appeared and whether multiple independent sources back it up. Look for the simplest explanation that fits all the facts. It is often the right one. A little healthy doubt is fine. Complete certainty without proof is where the trouble starts, and where the internet supplies far too much enthusiasm and entirely too few receipts. Common misconception: politics as the default. Conspiracy stories pop up in places far removed from election night or party headquarters. They circulate around health claims, corporate secrets, celebrity scandals, neighborhood drama, and even why your phone battery dies faster than expected. People whisper that a popular snack has a hidden ingredient, that a TV show is secretly scripted, or that a famous chef guards a recipe so closely it must be magic. These are real-life examples showing that the impulse to explain mysterious events doesn't always lead straight to government plots. News coverage and social media make politics look big and everywhere, so it becomes the easiest lens to use. When a nightly feed is full of policy fights and power plays, the brain grabs that first. This is just a mental shortcut. People tend to reach for the explanation they see most often. At the same time, authorities have visible power, and humans naturally look for who can change things. So politics becomes a go-to suspect. Short version: visible power equals obvious suspect. Other forces push people toward political thinking too. Social groups, identity, and mistrust of large institutions tilt explanations toward grand schemes. A rumor about a school's new testing policy can become a "they're out to get our kids" story, even though the real cause might be budget cuts or a confused administrator. Or a sudden product recall spawns claims of deliberate poisoning rather than supply chain mistakes. Everyday life is full of simpler causes that get skipped over when the political frame is the default. Concrete examples help. A coworker might insist management is staging layoffs just to cut benefits, when in fact declining sales and miscommunication are to blame. Fans sometimes accuse referees of bias after a bad call, rather than considering human error. Reality TV viewers often assume producers rig everything, while many events are just edited to tell a better story. Even neighborhood mysteries, like who keeps taking packages, are more often about opportunistic thieves than municipal cover-ups. These examples show how varied conspiracy thinking can be. To tell whether an explanation is political or not, look at who stands to gain and who has the power to act. If only a national office or a lawmaker could make the change in question, politics might be involved. If the actor is a company, a small group, or a single person, then it's likely non-political. Check the trail of decisions and money, and ask whether secrecy would realistically stay hidden. Follow the simplest path that fits the facts first. If that collapses, then investigate bigger players. And remember, not every mysterious thing requires a grand plot. Sometimes it's just a bad spreadsheet or a power outage, not the start of a drama series. Historical examples outside politics. The moon landing hoax is one of the clearest examples that conspiracy thinking can target science and technology rather than politics. Skeptics pointed to the flag appearing to flutter in photos, odd shadows, and supposedly perfect lighting. But physical evidence like lunar rocks brought back to Earth and instruments left on the surface that still reflect laser beams make the scientific case much stronger than the claims. It helps to think of it this way. If someone says the whole thing was filmed on a soundstage, they also have to explain how moon dust, rock chemistry, and independent tracking stations around the world all lined up with that script. Far less plausible than the simple explanation that engineers and astronauts did their jobs. People tend to spot anomalies and prefer dramatic stories. That's human. And yes, sometimes folks prefer a blockbuster plot to a boring lab report. The Piltdown Man affair shows that scientists themselves can be the targets of, or even participants in elaborate hoaxes that have nothing to do with political leaders. A fossil was presented as a missing link and fooled many experts because it fit expectations and national pride, until closer testing revealed it was a clever combination of human and ape bones. The lesson here is practical. Confirmation bias, the habit of noticing things that match what you already believe, can mislead whole fields. Think of it like believing a rumor about a classmate because it fits the gossip you already hear. Scientists are human too, and sometimes they need better checks and balances. Medical scares provide another rich set of non-political conspiracy stories. A widely publicized paper once linked a common childhood vaccine to developmental problems, stirring fear among parents and a sharp drop in immunizations. That study was later shown to be fraudulent and was retracted, and the author lost his medical license. But the damage lingered. Outbreaks of preventable illness rose because people stopped vaccinating. This shows how a single bad claim can ripple outward into public behavior, like a small lie spreading through a neighborhood until half the block believes it. It's a reminder that bad science spreads fast, and the corrections often arrive slowly. Corporate deception has fed conspiracy thinking outside the political arena as well. Industries that profited from certain products sometimes funded research or buried studies that pointed to health harms, and whistleblowers later exposed these practices. For example, some companies downplayed evidence that their products harmed workers' health, delaying protections and costing lives. In plain terms, when money is on the line, the truth can get a polite nudge into the closet. Consumers respond by imagining vast cover-ups instead of a mix of greed, negligence, and slow regulation. Less cinematic, but more accurate. Even sports and gambling offer non-political conspiracies rooted in real wrongdoing. Players once conspired with gamblers to throw a championship, and that scandal still serves as a textbook example of how greed and collusion can corrupt a game. It reminds people that conspiracies are sometimes just small groups making bad choices, not shadowy councils controlling the world. Everyday life gives us smaller parallels. Friends who agree to fake a board game result to spare someone's feelings can create short-term calm and long-term awkwardness on a tiny, harmless scale that mirrors bigger scandals. Science and medical conspiracies. Medical treatments and scientific claims are judged by evidence gathered in controlled ways, not by the loudness of an online thread. Scientists test ideas by comparing groups. Some get the medicine, some do not, and then look at the results. This helps separate real effects from things that just happen by chance or from people's memories playing tricks on them. Peer review and repeated studies add checks. If many independent teams get the same result, confidence grows. Short version. One person's story is not the same as many carefully collected measurements. People often mix up correlation and cause. A simple example. Two neighbors both get a cold after visiting the same grocery store. So someone might claim the store made them sick. But that ignores other explanations, like both being exposed elsewhere or seasonal viruses circulating. Anecdotes feel powerful because they are personal. They stick in the mind, while mountains of dry, careful data do not. That is how the claim about a single scary event can balloon into a belief that they're hiding something, even when broader studies show a different picture. Distrust also feeds these ideas. Pharmaceutical companies do make profits, and that creates real reasons to ask tough questions. A skeptical attitude can be healthy. However, suspicion becomes a conspiracy when every bit of evidence is dismissed as part of the plot. Social media speeds this up. Sensational claims spread faster than sober explanations, especially when a story triggers fear or outrage. The result: complex safety monitoring systems and large clinical trials get reduced to a one-line post that fits a narrative. People prefer neat stories over messy uncertainty. Humor helps here. Misinformation travels faster than a dropped slice of pizza, and almost as far. Practical steps make it easier to separate fact from fiction. Ask whether a claim is backed by multiple independent studies, whether there's a comparison group, and whether the effect is large enough to matter. Check if reputable health organizations or frontline doctors acknowledge the finding. Remember that all medicines can have side effects. The important question is how common and how serious they're compared to the benefit. If someone promises a miracle cure with no downsides, treat that claim like an expired coupon. Probably worthless. In short, use simple checks, trust broad, repeated evidence, and keep a sense of humor when the internet serves up its next shiny theory. Corporate and economic conspiracies. When consumers see almost identical prices at competing stores, that pattern can be a sign of lawful market forces, or it can hint at something more troubling like price fixing, when firms secretly agree to keep prices high instead of competing. Price fixing shows up in plain ways. Similar gas prices across neighboring stations, matching ticket fees among several vendors, or identical subscription rates popping up at once. Regulators and courts exist to spot and punish collusion, and companies sometimes get fined or sued when evidence of secret agreement surfaces. Think of it like neighbors who suddenly decide to all sell lemonade for the same price. Sometimes it's coincidence, and sometimes there's a group chat arranging it. Insider trading and corporate fraud are another slice of real, provable wrongdoing that people sometimes call conspiracy. Insider trading happens when someone uses secret company information about a merger, a big contract, or a surprise quarterly loss to trade stocks before the public knows. A common example is an executive tipping a friend about a takeover and that friend buying shares. That kind of thing gets investigated. Companies put rules and monitoring in place to stop it, and whistleblowers sometimes bring hidden deals to light. It's not glamorous, and no, it won't usually end with a movie montage. More often, it leads to investigations and legal headaches. Regulatory capture and cozy industry-regulator relationships can look like conspiracies because they bend rules in favor of big firms. When rulebooks are written with heavy input from the very companies they regulate, the playing field can tilt. A practical example: A municipal recycling contract that's structured so only a large waste company can meet the terms, shutting out smaller competitors and startups. People moving from regulator jobs into industry posts, known as the revolving door, can also raise eyebrows since first-hand knowledge and contacts are valuable. It's not always illegal, but it can erode trust and create unfair advantages. Some strategies companies use are more about marketing than secret deals, yet they still spark conspiracy talk. Planned obsolescence, designing products that are hard or expensive to repair, pushes people to replace rather than fix things. Non-user replaceable batteries or expensive proprietary printer ink chips are everyday examples. Limited edition product drops and artificial scarcity create frenzy and higher resale values. Sneaker culture shows how scarcity can be manufactured by design. These tactics can be annoying and feel underhanded, but they're often legal marketing strategies rather than criminal conspiracies. Separating genuine corporate crime from normal business behavior takes a little digging and common sense. Look for independent evidence, whistleblower reports, court filings, regulatory investigations, or consistent patterns across unrelated markets. If multiple, unrelated companies coordinate actions in secret and documents or witness testimony back that up, that's more than rumor. Reliable journalism and public records are good guides. Treat anonymous social posts with caution. In short, skepticism is healthy, but so is checking the receipts. Real conspiracies leave trails, and most corporate shenanigans leave something you can point to, even if it's just a badly designed toaster that refuses to die on purpose. Technological myths and fears. New gadgets and software often change routines faster than people notice, and that rapid change breeds rumors and myths. People see antennas, microphones, and bright new screens and jump to dramatic conclusions. Technology itself is neutral. It's the way it's used, sold, and regulated that matters. Many fears come from genuine uncertainties. Nobody likes unexpected change, but those fears sometimes balloon into stories that ignore how the tech actually works. Concerns about health are common. Radio waves from phones and wireless networks are a form of non-ionizing radiation, which means they don't carry enough energy to break chemical bonds in your cells. In plain terms, they can heat tissue a little at very high power, but they don't slice DNA like 10th rays do. Still, people worry about towers or small antennas, and that's understandable when the science feels technical. Practical example. Someone annoyed by sore ears might blame their phone's signal instead of a bad pillow. That's the sort of mix-up that feeds myths. Official health bodies keep studying these things, and simple measures, like using a headset or putting a router away from where you sleep, can ease worry without dramatic action. Privacy and surveillance fears are a different animal, grounded partly in reality. Many smart devices carry microphones, cameras, and sensors for location, and apps routinely ask for access to contacts, photos, or GPS. Those requests are often used for ads or to improve a service, not to build a dossier on your pizza preferences, though yes, targeted ads can feel spooky. Some companies have employed humans to review snippets of audio to train voice systems. That happened, but it's also true that strong protections exist. Encryption scrambles messages so only the intended recipient can read them, and settings let you limit what an app can see. Practical habits help. Check app permissions, read privacy policies briefly, and use two-factor authentication for important accounts. Little steps like these deflate real risks faster than tinfoil hats do. A lot of anxiety centers on automation and artificial intelligence. Machines taking jobs, deciding who gets a loan, or writing news stories. Machines are good at repetitive, predictable tasks. For example, self-checkout lanes can reduce the need for cashiers doing simple scans, but a store still needs people for stock, returns, and customer service. AI systems are tools that follow patterns learned from lots of examples. They don't possess intent. That means they can make useful suggestions and also make errors if the examples they learned from were flawed. The practical takeaway? Expect shifts in job tasks and new roles in oversight, maintenance, and design. Plan skills training accordingly. And yes, it's fine to joke that your toaster won't unionize anytime soon. Why do these myths keep spreading? Stories that shock or reassure are simply more memorable than careful explanations. Social networks amplify the loudest claims, not the most accurate ones. To test a scary technology story, look for trustworthy sources. Check whether multiple independent experts back the claim, and see if the explanation matches how the device actually works. If someone tells you your router is broadcasting secret mind control, ask a simple question: what mechanism would do that? If the answer is hand-wavy, it's probably a myth. Practical skepticism beats panic. And a sense of humor helps too. After all, your phone probably only wants your photos, not your soul. Religious and spiritual conspiracies. Many stories about secret plots in faith communities claim that a small, powerful group controls access to spiritual truth or hides miraculous knowledge from ordinary people. These claims take many forms. Whispers that an alternative healing method is being suppressed by big institutions, allegations that a religious leader is secretly directing governments, and rumors that sacred texts contain hidden chapters known only to an inner circle. People point to odd coincidences, private meetings, or missing files as proof, and those pieces can sound convincing when they are repeated in tight groups. The mind looks for patterns and comfort in uncertainty, and that helps explain why such stories stick. Confirmation bias, the simple habit of noticing things that fit what you already believe and ignoring the rest, plays a big role. Another common tendency is seeing meaningful connections where none exist. You might call it reading punctuation into a sentence that only has commas. A practical example: a neighborhood prayer chain forwards a claim that a particular medication dulls spiritual awareness, and anyone who already doubts mainstream medicine will pick that up and pass it along without checking a reliable source. It's easier to accept a tidy secret than to sit with complexity. Social networks and charismatic voices amplify these themes quickly. Private chat groups, late-night podcasts, and impassioned sermons can spread a dramatic story faster than careful investigation. Local life examples are everywhere. A parishioner hearing a rumor about a cult infiltrator in the youth group tells a friend, that friend tells another, and soon the rumor has a life of its own despite thin evidence. Closed communities reward insider knowledge, and the language of secrecy, they don't want you to know, gives people a sharp sense of identity and purpose. That sense is powerful and hard to dislodge with facts alone. There are practical ways to examine these claims without being dismissive. Ask for clear sources and look for independent verification rather than relying on a single testimony. Anecdotes, heartfelt personal stories, are valuable for understanding people's experiences, but they don't substitute for checks like multiple witnesses, documents, or expert review. If someone says a ritual cures a disease, for example, it makes sense to ask whether medical professionals have evaluated it or whether there are repeatable, observable results beyond a single story. Red flags include shifting explanations, secrecy that never leads to evidence, and claims that get immunized against criticism by labeling skepticism part of the plot. Responding to believers requires tact and patience. Mockery usually hardens beliefs. A more useful approach is gentle curiosity. Ask specific questions, offer to look up sources together, and focus on outcomes. Who benefits, who may be harmed, and what evidence would change minds. If a friend joins a group that isolates them or asks for money under pressure, that's a practical safety concern worth addressing directly. Suggest neutral steps like checking publicly available records, contacting trusted third parties, or speaking with professionals who can assess health or legal matters. Not every suspicion about institutions is wrong, and real abuses do happen. Demanding transparency and accountability from religious organizations is reasonable and often important. What helps most is applying the same standards of evidence and kindness you'd want for your own claims. Differentiate between healthy skepticism and stories that feed fear without proof. You can remain spiritual and still ask for receipts. And yes, that's allowed. Crime, fraud, and underground schemes. Hidden wrongdoing often fuels conspiracy talk. People point to frauds, theft rings and secret deals as proof that something large and unseen is controlling events. Scams that promise steady, unusually high returns are a common spark. These schemes work by paying early investors with money from new ones instead of real profits, and that simple trick can keep going until it collapses. A typical real-life example is the person who joins an exclusive investment club after a friend's glowing recommendation, only to find out later there was no real business behind the payoff. Short red flags help spot these things: pressure to act fast, secrecy, and complex explanations that avoid clear paperwork. Many underground schemes aren't glamorous plots, but everyday crimes dressed up as clever plans. Identity theft is a practical one. Someone uses leaked personal info to open accounts or claim tax refunds in another person's name, and it spreads through simple access to email or social media details. Phishing emails that mimic a bank or service and ask for a password still work because they exploit routine behavior, like clicking a link without checking the sender. Another low-tech example is buying a luxury handbag from a sidewalk seller at a price that makes no sense. That item might be stolen or counterfeit, and the buyer becomes part of a chain that profits from theft. The darker corners of commerce also feed conspiracy stories, black markets, and hidden networks where illegal goods and services change hands. These networks often use coded language, private forums, or encrypted messaging to hide activities. For instance, people selling stolen electronics might use anonymous payment methods and meet in busy public spots to avoid drawing law enforcement attention. Technology has made some frauds easier, but it has also left footprints. Transaction records and digital messages can sometimes be traced back to the scammers if investigators know what to look for. Suspicion grows because crime narratives are easy to believe and hard to disprove for the average person. When officials say we investigated and provide little detail, it leaves space for stories that blame organized fraudsters or shadowy syndicates. Practical defenses are straightforward. Verify credentials, insist on written contracts, check independent reviews, and use known payment methods that offer buyer protections. If someone promises guaranteed returns, treat that phrase like a one-way ticket to disappointment. And humor aside, a little skepticism, the kind that asks simple questions and checks sources, is often the best tool against both real scams and the exaggerated conspiracies they can inspire. Celebrities, entertainment, and pop culture. Fame and entertainment create fertile ground for conspiracy stories because celebrities live parts of their lives in public and other parts behind closed doors. Ambiguity fills the gaps. A cryptic social media post, a sudden break in an album cycle, or a costume choice in a music video can all be read as secret messages instead of ordinary choices. People naturally look for patterns and explanations when something interesting happens, and popular culture feeds that instinct with symbols, teasers, and mystery by design. Many of the most persistent pop culture conspiracies start from small things blown up by fans or tabloids. For example, long-running rumors about a famous musician being replaced or dead began from listeners spotting supposed hidden clues in lyrics and album art. Black masking claims, the idea that songs contain secret messages when played backwards, came from people hearing patterns that other listeners did not. More recently, deepfake technology has allowed incredibly realistic fake videos of public figures to circulate, making it easier for a manipulated clip to become its own rumor. Social media also repeatedly spreads false reports that a celebrity has died. These death hoaxes resurface so often that many publicists and fan pages now have standard lines to debunk them. Marketing tactics and fan culture complicate the picture as well. Publicity teams sometimes use puzzles, teasers, or staged events to create buzz, and fans can legitimately misinterpret a clever Anno Domini campaign as proof of a hidden agenda. At other times, the economic payoff of clicks and shares encourages sites and users to push sensational claims because outrage and mystery attract attention. The consequences are real. Celebrities can face harassment, doxing, and threats based on unverified theories, and ordinary people who happen to be mistaken for a target can get dragged into online storms. That's not funny, though the idea of an actor being the secret leader of a fictional world sounds like a blockbuster pitch. There are practical ways to handle pop culture conspiracies that keep you from spreading nonsense. First, check reliable primary sources, an official statement from the artist's account, an interview, or a reputable news outlet, instead of trusting a forwarded post. Use reverse image search to see if a photo has been recycled from years ago, and look for the original video clip before sharing something shocking. Ask simple questions. Who benefits if this rumor spreads? And is a simpler explanation more likely? A singer missing a promo event is usually tired or ill, not living a secret double life. Finally, a little healthy skepticism and a sense of humor help. Enjoying a music video's symbolism doesn't require believing it's a code for the end of the world. Folklore, urban legends, and local myths. Folklore and urban legends in towns and neighborhoods usually grow from small, everyday worries and strange local events rather than from high-level political scheming. Stories like a hitchhiker who disappears from the back seat, a babysitter getting creepy late-night calls, or warnings about poison candy on Halloween are classic examples. They stick because they tap into common fears, being alone, keeping children safe, and trusting strangers. These tales function like low-tech alerts. They warn people about potential dangers and teach social rules through memorable, often spooky narratives. Short and punchy, they get passed on because they're easy to tell and hard to forget. In many places, local myths center on a particular place or person instead of a government conspiracy. People talk about a haunted house on Main Street, a bridge where cars stall for no reason, or a town creek that's supposedly cursed. Those stories give neighborhoods a kind of identity. They create shared experience. And sometimes they help communities bond by giving everyone the same story to laugh about at barbecues. Jokes aside, myths can also keep kids away from dangerous spots. Grandparent stories are sometimes the best and cheapest warning signs. Everyday life provides endless examples. A rumor that a new factory is making the river smell funny might start simply because someone noticed a bad odor and wanted an explanation. In other words, people fill gaps in knowledge with stories that make sense emotionally. Another common urban legend is the organ theft tale. A traveler wakes up in a strange place missing a kidney. That one circulates because it speaks to a deep fear of losing control while traveling, and because hospitals and organs are complicated topics that feel mysterious to most people. No one needs a political motive to make these stories catch on. Fear and curiosity do all the work. The internet has changed how quickly local myths spread, but it hasn't fundamentally altered why they appear. A gossip that once stayed on a cul-de-sac can now be screenshots and forwarded messages across the globe in a day. This can be funny and frustrating because a silly local legend can suddenly seem like a global emergency. Still, many of these viral stories remain rooted in personal experience. A neighbor's odd behavior, a bad smell, or a strange light over a field. Those are concrete triggers, not grand political strategies. Folklore also thrives on ambiguity, and that's where humor sneaks in. People prefer a spooky explanation to admitting they don't know why something happened. So the tale grows. The sound in the attic becomes a ghost. The mysterious footprints become evidence of a monster. And the missing pet becomes part of a larger, whispered mystery. Urban legends are storytellers' playgrounds. They're practical, too, because they teach lessons. Don't take shortcuts at night. Don't talk to strangers. Double-check the babysitter's references without sounding like a lecture. Finally, local myths can sometimes brush up against conspiracy thinking when distrust is already present. But the starting point is usually personal and local. When a neighborhood joke about a haunted mill escalates into claims of secret tests or hidden labs, that's often the point where folklore meets wider suspicion. Still, most of the time these stories are about simple human concerns: safety, belonging, and the need to explain the odd things that happen around us. They are the community's collective imagination, handed down and reshaped like a grandma's recipe that gets spicier with every generation. Hobbyist and niche community theories. Small hobby groups and niche online communities are fertile ground for conspiracy-style explanations because members care deeply and often know more than outsiders about tiny details. When something odd happens, a sudden shortage of a rare part, a strange firmware update, or an unexpected rule change in a favorite game, people knit together stories to make sense of it. Forums, Discord servers, and specialized subreddits speed up that storytelling. A single rumor can be amplified into a shared belief before anyone runs a careful test. This is not always malicious. Curiosity and strong attachment to a hobby make people eager to find patterns and motives. Enthusiast communities also have their own language and standards of evidence, which can look like closed ranks to newcomers. A model railway forum may treat a supplier's stock decision as evidence of a secret plan to push higher-priced items. A photography group might argue that a camera maker intentionally limits features on lower-tier models to force upgrades. These claims feel plausible because members notice small technical differences that ordinary consumers miss. But complexity helps myths spread. When explanations rely on many small technical facts, it's easy to weave them into an intentional plot rather than accept simpler reasons like cost, manufacturing errors, or miscommunication. Real-life examples are easy to spot in hobbies. Collectors sometimes suspect manufacturers of planting a rare variant to inflate prices, while gamers often theorize that developers nerf certain builds to target a playstyle they don't like. Makers and hobby electronics communities can accuse a chip vendor of deliberately changing tolerances to kill off homebrew projects. These accusations can be funny, blaming the toaster firmware for your burned toast. But they also have real consequences when creators or suppliers are harassed or when community trust breaks down. On the other hand, healthy skepticism in a group has practical value. It can uncover counterfeit parts, reveal safety issues, or push for better transparency. Psychology plays a big role, and it's simple to explain. People prefer explanations that fit what they already believe. That's why a rumor that confirms a suspicion spreads faster than a boring, neutral report. Tight-knit groups reward dramatic stories with likes and upvotes, making the most sensational claims visible. A quick fix is to test claims directly when possible. Reproduce the issue, ask for detailed logs or photos, and invite neutral members to verify results. Also, look for simpler causes first. Sometimes the conspiracy is just a bad batch of glue or a mislabeled shipment. Practical steps reduce harm and keep hobbies fun. Encourage evidence sharing. Measurements, photos, and repeatable experiments beat hearsay. Foster a culture that rewards skepticism tempered by kindness. Someone pointing out a possible scam should be able to present sources without being shouted down. Humor helps too. Light jokes about blaming the mythical company cabal can defuse tension and remind people not to take every glitch as a grand design. Finally, remember that not every strange event proves a secret plot. Many real problems in niche communities come from simple forces: limited budgets, human error, supply chain quirks, or shifting consumer demand. When suspicion becomes identity, when defending a theory feels like defending membership, the hobby suffers. Keep curiosity alive, verify before accusing, and enjoy the thrill of solving mysteries without turning every puzzle into a headline-worthy conspiracy. Psychology of pattern seeking. The human brain is built to find order in chaos. Spotting a simple pattern helps people survive by turning vague threats into predictable dangers. This tendency is not a quirk. It's a basic wiring that looks for connections so we can act quickly. Sometimes that wiring works beautifully. Noticing that dark clouds usually mean rain lets us grab an umbrella. Other times it jumps to conclusions, like assuming every cough means something catastrophic or that a missed text was deliberate silence. People prefer stories with causes and agents behind events, so the mind often favors explanations that involve someone doing something on purpose. When something odd happens, the brain asks, "Who did this?" before it even asks, "Could this be coincidence?" That split-second tilt toward agency can turn coincidence into intent, such as deciding a power outage was a targeted message rather than a blown fuse. It's why a friend forgetting to reply can feel like a personal slight instead of simple busyness. Once a pattern is suspected, confirmation becomes the comfort blanket. Short, you look for clues that fit the story and tuck away the rest. Social media accelerates that habit by showing more of what you already believe, which makes small patterns appear stronger. An example from daily life. If you start thinking a neighbor parks inconsiderately on purpose, you notice every parking move they make and forget the times they left space. This selective attention is harmless when it's about parking, but it becomes risky when it fuels stories that stitch unrelated facts into a single plot. Seeing patterns where none exist is common and often amusing. People see faces in toast and signals in random market swings. A gambler convinced a machine is due is relying on a pattern that probability doesn't support. Simple checks help. Consider other explanations. Test the idea against new information and ask people who don't already agree with you. A dose of skepticism, plus a willingness to let coincidences be coincidences, keeps pattern seeking useful without letting it invent villains or hidden plots. Social identity and belonging. People often accept conspiracy ideas not because the facts add up, but because those ideas help them feel part of a group. A belief can act like a membership card. Once you say it out loud, you get nods, private jokes, and invitations to the next meetup. That social payoff is powerful. It satisfies a basic human need to belong, which sometimes beats pure truth-seeking. Close-knit groups, families, neighborhood circles, hobby clubs, and online forums play a big role in spreading and reinforcing conspiracy thinking. For example, a parent in a tight local mom group might repeat doubts about a medical recommendation because the group treats skepticism as the right thing to do, and because questioning together creates bonding time. In workplace settings, people swap whispered theories about management decisions, partly to cope and partly to prove they're in the know. Small rituals, like sharing memes or using special phrases, make members feel seen. It becomes less about whether the claim is true and more about keeping the group feeling solid. Social boundaries are another piece of the puzzle. Conspiracy stories often draw a clear line between us and them. That line can be comforting. If the world feels chaotic, believing that a small, loyal group understands the hidden truth reduces anxiety. Sometimes the group identity is a hobby. Think of a fandom convinced that a studio is hiding a secret scene, and other times it ties to ethnicity, religion, or subculture. When identity is on the line, people defend ideas that protect the group image. This is why correcting facts alone rarely works. Changing someone's mind can feel like rejecting their friends. Online spaces speed up this process by creating instant communities that celebrate shared suspicions. Algorithms show users more of what they already like, and human nature fills in the rest. People seek others who validate their feelings. A casual comment that gets lots of supportive replies can quickly turn into a core group belief. Humor helps here too. Inside jokes and sarcastic slogans make a shaky claim feel more solid. But that same closeness can also isolate members from outside views, because stepping away might mean losing your social circle. Practical approaches should focus on relationships, not just facts. If someone you care about clings to a conspiracy, inviting them into a different shared activity, building a model, cooking together, watching a neutral show, can preserve connection while loosening the grip of the group belief. Ask about how a belief makes them feel rather than attacking the belief itself. Small, non-judgmental conversations and creating new social ties often work better than flood of statistics moments. People change when they feel safe in a new community, not when their old one is publicly shamed. And yes, bringing cookies helps. Trust me. The role of storytelling and humor. Stories shape what people believe because our minds prefer neat plots, a clear hero, a clear villain, and a reason that ties everything together. Simple narratives help people remember and pass along information. Even when the information is shaky, a rumor about a secret ingredient in a popular snack will travel farther if it comes with a dramatic explanation of who benefits and who is hurt. In everyday life, this shows up when coworkers turn a quiet hiring decision into a spy thriller in the break room, or when a supermarket gossip becomes the overnight origin story for why a brand is hiding the truth. Short, tidy tales beat complicated facts for stickiness. Humor lubricates that process and makes odd ideas easier to swallow. A joke lowers defenses, people smile, then share. Memes are a perfect example. A funny image caption with an outrageous claim can be forwarded for the laugh, and then suddenly the claim is familiar and feels less risky to say out loud. Sometimes the spread is clearly playful, like a sarcastic tweet about a celebrity living in a secret bunker, but the line between jest and belief is thin. People test boundaries with humor all the time. A sarcastic post that reads, "Clearly the toaster is plotting against us," can quickly mutate into a literal, worried thread if enough readers miss the wink. Narrative tools, repetition, vivid details, and character typecasting make non-political conspiracies persuasive in the same way they do in fiction. A local legend about haunted woods gains traction because it names a lonely ranger, an unexplained light, and a tidy cause. The brain fills gaps with emotion and pattern, preferring a neat ending to uncertainty. Humor often supplies those vivid details too, painting an absurd portrait that is easy to retell. The alien neighbor joke becomes a story about suspicious vans and midnight gardening. It's entertaining and it's memorable. And that combination is powerful. Social bonding fuels the whole thing. Sharing a ridiculous theory as a joke signals group membership and tests reactions without outright commitment. People tag friends on a silly post to say "you'll get this," and that tag stitches a small community together. The problem arises when the joke outgrows the context. A prank that started as a laugh can be reposted without the original tone and picked up by people who interpret it literally. Then what began as a campfire story becomes a rumor that influences behavior. Someone might avoid a product or call a hotline because they encountered the tale stripped of its punchline. Spotting when storytelling and humor are driving a non-political conspiracy is practical. Look for dramatic characters, a neat cause and effect line, and comedic framing that feels like a wink. Check where the story started and whether the original post was labeled as satire or a joke. If a wild claim comes wrapped in comedy, treat the comedy as the likely intent, but don't toss the content immediately. Jokes can also hide real concerns that deserve a clear answer. In short, laugh first, check next. Media dynamics beyond political news. News and gossip move through phones and apps in ways that favor surprise and drama, not careful truth-checking. You see a short, punchy video about a supposed miracle cure on TikTok, and it gets pushed to thousands because people watch the whole thing. That same pattern helps celebrity rumors, fake product warnings, and wild tech claims travel far. Algorithms, which are just simple computer recipes that decide what shows up on your feed, often pick content that keeps you watching, and sensational or emotional material wins that contest. A friend forwarding a clip in a WhatsApp group can trigger a cascade. Someone posts it to a neighborhood Facebook page. Someone else record a reaction video, and suddenly an unverified claim feels like common knowledge. Platforms reward attention, plain and simple. Clickbait headlines, outrage-filled thumbnails, and dramatic captions pull eyes and pockets. Creators and small pages can earn money from views or push products, so there's a real incentive to make stories louder than they are. Private chats and closed groups make it worse because people trust those spaces more. A rumor in a closed family thread often gets treated as fact, just like the time Aunt Linda swore the grocery store stopped selling her favorite jam, which she later found in the back of the pantry. Journalists and outlets sometimes amplify non-political conspiracies without meaning to. When mainstream media covers an online hoax to debunk it, they can unknowingly spread it to readers who hadn't seen it before. Short-form memes and videos strip context away, too, leaving only a dramatic image or soundbite that's easy to misread. Deepfake videos and edited audio add a modern twist. They're like cheap stage makeup for a lie, convincing at a glance, but fragile under scrutiny. Platform design shapes how quickly and widely these stories travel. Share buttons, endless scrolling, and recommended feeds nudge people from one piece of sensational content to the next. Echo chambers form when you mostly see content that matches your existing views, and that makes small rumors look like large truths. A simple habit: pause before sharing, check a reputable source, helps more than you might think. And yes, if your cousin's forwarded PSA about a banned ingredient sounds too dramatic, there's a good chance it's the digital version of someone at a dinner party exaggerating for effect. Internet subcultures and meme-driven myths. Online communities often turn a throwaway joke into something that feels true simply because enough people treat it that way. Memes, those small images, short videos, or catchy phrases, work like shortcuts. They pack a funny idea into a tiny package that's easy to copy and paste. When a meme repeats across places like Reddit, TikTok, 4chan, Discord, and Twitter/10, the same image or line shows up so many times that newcomers assume it must be real or important. A silly caption can flip into a claim, and then that claim becomes a shared story inside the group. Algorithms on social apps nudge this along by showing you more of what you already like. In plain terms, if you click or react to a meme, the app thinks they want more of this and shows it to more people. That makes certain jokes echo louder and faster, creating tight pockets of content that all look similar. People call this an echo chamber, which is just a fancy way of saying you end up hearing the same meme-backed idea over and over. It doesn't take much: one viral clip, one trending sound, or one popular post, and suddenly a niche claim leaps out of a forum and into people's feeds. Inside group language and irony add another twist. Some communities use sarcasm or roleplay, intending the meme to be a prank, but outsiders can take it literally. Someone posts a doctored screenshot as a gag, and another user shares it seriously. That mix of ironic posting and earnest sharing is why memes can mutate. An image gets edited, a caption changes, the joke drifts, and by the time it's 2 or 3 iterations in, it looks like evidence. Think of it like a rumor played through a game of visual telephone. Also, people like belonging. If a meme signals membership by quoting an in-joke or using specific slang, members may repeat it as truth to fit in, even when deep down they know it started as a joke. Tools that make content creation easy, simple video editors, filters, and AI tools speed up the process. Now anyone can make a convincing clip of a public figure saying something they never said, or create a believable image that didn't happen. That's where the term deepfake or AI-generated content comes in. It just means a photo or video was made by a machine to look real. The result is that memes can carry false visuals as persuasive proof. Platforms try to respond with fact-check labels, content removal, or nudges that warn viewers. Those measures help sometimes, but they can also push communities to more private spaces where the meme myth keeps spreading without oversight. Spotting these meme-driven myths takes a little curiosity and a bit of skepticism. Check where the meme first appeared. Can you find the original post or a trusted source? Do a reverse image search if a photo looks suspicious. Pause before sharing, especially when the meme is dramatic or plays on fear. Ask whether the post is written like a joke or like news. And when in doubt, ask a friend who isn't in that group. An outside view can reveal the meme's origin story. Memes are brilliant at making complex ideas feel simple and funny, but that same power can turn a prank into a persistent myth. So laugh, enjoy the creativity, and maybe don't retweet the alien conspiracy meme until you verify where it actually came from. Case study: cryptids and paranormal claims. Cryptid and paranormal claims often begin with ordinary things: a rustle in the woods, a strange noise outside a barn, a blurry light on a dashboard camera. These reports are usually driven by personal experience and local storytelling, not by political agendas. People swap stories at diners, online forums, and community halls, and those stories can grow into shared beliefs without anyone pushing an explicit political message. Many accounts depend on eyewitness testimony, which sounds solid until you remember that memory is a storyteller too, and it changes details each time the story is told. Take sightings that people label as cryptids. creatures like large, elusive primates, water beasts, or strange winged figures. Often a plausible, non-mysterious explanation exists. Misidentified wildlife, deer or bears seen from odd angles, or floating logs in a lake. Photographs and videos commonly offered as proof tend to be low resolution. Blurry images are the official uniform of cryptid photography. They leave room for imagination. A webcam glare, an oddly lit cloud, or an animal with a swollen coat can all become evidence when viewers want to see something unusual. Sometimes a prankster will stage a hoax for a laugh or to sell a sensational story, and sometimes sincere witnesses genuinely misread what they saw. Paranormal claims about ghosts, hauntings, or poltergeists share a similar pattern. Household noises, settling pipes, drafts, and ordinary creaks can be interpreted as supernatural activity, especially late at night. People also tend to find patterns where none exist. A series of coincidences becomes a sign, and routine noises become ominous signals. Social reinforcement plays a big role. If your neighbor swears the old house on the corner is haunted and an online group backs them up with stories and photos, skepticism feels like a lone, unpopular opinion. That social bubble encourages more reports and occasionally fuels local businesses offering tours, souvenirs, or paranormal investigations. Real-world examples make the point clear. Livestock found with unusual wounds have sparked tales of blood-sucking animals, which then spread through rural networks and news outlets. A dark-shaped scene crossing a river has become the basis for lake monster folklore that boosts local tourism in some areas, with towns happily selling t-shirts and boat tours. A shaky night vision clip posted by an enthusiast can generate thousands of comments, and before long the clip is treated like a major discovery. None of these outcomes requires a political motive. Profit, attention, community identity, or plain human curiosity are enough. Thinking critically helps sort the likely from the unlikely. Ask simple questions. Could a known animal, lens flare, or weather explain this? Has the witness described the event differently over time? Is there physical evidence that can be inspected, or just a story and a photo? Check for incentives too. Is someone selling tickets to a cryptid tour the next weekend? A little skepticism doesn't kill wonder. It just keeps the conversation honest. And if all else fails, enjoy the mystery. After all, every blurry photo is also an invitation to go camping with your camera in bad eyesight. Case study: corporate cover-up narratives. Corporate cover-ups usually involve hiding information that could hurt sales, image, or profits. That can mean editing research, spinning press releases, settling lawsuits quietly, or discouraging employees from speaking up. A whistleblower is simply an employee or insider who points out wrongdoing. Sometimes they leak emails or reports that show the cover-up. Quiet settlements and non-disclosure agreements are tools companies use to keep problems out of public view, and that makes suspicion grow even faster. One clear pattern shows up again and again. Internal documents contradict public claims. For example, internal industry records in the cigarette business revealed executives discussing the health risks of smoking while outwardly denying them. Another well-known instance involved car makers using software to make engines pass emissions tests only when they detected testing conditions. Pharmaceutical and chemical firms have also faced accusations that marketing overplayed benefits and downplayed harms. Critics point to internal memos and lawsuits as evidence. These are not just abstract accusations. They come with memos, test results, court filings, and sometimes criminal charges. That's concrete, not just rumor. People spot several common signs that should raise red flags. Suddenly sealed legal settlements, gag orders, unusually phrased press statements, or when independent researchers can't reproduce a company-funded study. Short example: a mom finds her kid's juice is recalled, but the company only offers refunds without explaining why. That kind of silence fuels stories. Leaked emails or internal reports can break a cover-up wide open, while PR teams try to keep stories short and upbeat. It's classic PR versus paper trail. To evaluate a corporate cover-up claim, look for primary evidence: internal documents, regulatory findings, third-party tests, or sworn testimony. Don't rely only on a single blog post or a viral video. Check whether independent labs have replicated the results and whether reputable journalists have reviewed the original documents. Also, see who paid for the research you're reading. Financial ties can bias outcomes. And yes, read beyond the headline. Advertisements are not investigative reporting. People distrust corporations for good reasons, and past abuses feed present-day skepticism. Still, not every suspicious headline means a global conspiracy. Sometimes it's bad management, not a secret cabal. Stay curious, follow the paper trail, and demand transparency. It won't turn you into a superhero, but makes you harder to fool. How confirmation bias shapes non-political theories. People naturally notice and remember things that fit what they already think, and they ignore or forget the rest. This tendency is called confirmation bias, and it quietly shapes the everyday explanations people give for odd events, from why a blender broke to why a plant died. Instead of weighing all the facts, the brain shortcuts to patterns that confirm a hunch because it's faster and feels safer. Shortcuts save time, but they also steer conclusions. When someone suspects that a new pair of shoes gives them blisters, they're more likely to search for comments that agree, and less likely to read the 5-star reviews that say the shoes were comfortable. The same thing happens with neighborhood rumors. One sudden missing package, one overheard door slam, and a mind builds a story about a local thief, while nights with no thefts are filed away and forgotten. People also interpret unclear signs in a way that favors their belief. A creaky floor becomes proof of mice if you already think you have them, and merely an old house settling if you don't. These small habits of selection and interpretation add up quickly. Online life boosts the effect. Forums, comment threads, and video suggestion lists tailor what you see. So a search for strange smell in apartment will show pages written by people who had that exact problem and a theory about it. That repetition feels like independent confirmation, even when it isn't. Social groups do the same. If your hiking club all believe a certain trail is cursed because something always goes wrong there, every mishap on that trail becomes part of the cursed story, while smooth hikes disappear from memory. It's not magic. It's human attention playing favorites. And yes, blaming the trail is easier than admitting you forgot your sunscreen. Confirmation bias doesn't only create false ideas, it makes them stick and spread. A friend endorses a miracle sofa cleaner, you buy it, and happen to clean a couch after a full moon nap. You credit the cleaner and tell others about it. Or someone claims a particular brand of headphones leaks secret data. Every odd battery drain or glitch is treated as proof, while normal performance is waved away. To test a belief properly, try looking for what would count against it. Ask yourself what you would expect to see if the sofa cleaner did nothing, or keep a simple record of headphone performance in different locations. Check sources that disagree, and seek direct, repeatable tests instead of single anecdotes. Practical steps cut through the bias. Play devil's advocate with your own ideas. Write down predictions before you test them, and keep a short log of outcomes so memory doesn't play tricks. Ask neutral questions like, what would convince me first I'm wrong? And actually look for that evidence. It helps to involve someone outside your circle who has no stake in the belief. They'll notice what you overlook. A little skepticism, a tiny bit of math, counting hits and misses, and a sense of humor, because life is too short to blame the Wi-Fi for everything. Go a long way towards seeing how confirmation bias shapes non-political theories and then fixing the ones that lead you astray. Motivations: profit, attention, and control. Content that provokes strong emotions like fear or outrage gets shared far more easily than calm analysis. And that creates clear money-making chances for people who know how to exploit attention. Websites and videos with sensational claims attract lots of clicks, and clicks translate into anno domini revenue, affiliate sales, or subscribers on platforms like Patreon. A person who posts a wild theory can end up selling ebooks, memberships, or merchandise to an audience that wants more of the same. It's a simple business model dressed up in mystery. Real-life examples include bloggers or small video channels that focus on dramatic claims to boost traffic and then offer paid newsletters or branded products. It's not that different from running an online store, except the storefront is outrage. Chasing attention is another obvious engine behind many false or exaggerated stories. Social media rewards novelty and speed, so being first to claim a hidden truth can bring thousands of followers overnight. People crave recognition, especially online, and a growing follower count feels like social currency. Think of the coworker who became the office conspiracy person and suddenly had everyone listening at lunch. Attention alone can be addictive. Algorithms help here. The more reactions a post gets, the more it's shown, and that feedback loop encourages ever bolder claims. Short bursts of fame are powerful. They change behavior. Control is often the least obvious motive, but it is very powerful. Stories that single out enemies, blame outsiders, or promise secret knowledge help leaders and groups shape what people think and do. When followers are told that only the group understands the real story, they become dependent on group leaders for meaning and guidance. That makes it easier to direct votes, purchases, or even personal relationships. Examples from everyday life include charismatic wellness sellers who convince clients that only their product fights a supposed hidden threat, or small groups that isolate members with a steady diet of paranoid explanations. It creates an in-group versus out-group dynamic, and people seeking certainty or belonging can get trapped. These three motives, making money, gaining attention, and exerting control, often mix together. A content creator might start by chasing likes, then monetize the audience, and finally work to keep that audience loyal by controlling the narrative. Online forums can sell branded goods while moderating discussion to protect sales, and influencers may use fear-based claims to sell products and to grow a devoted following at the same time. Noticing who benefits and how they get paid or rewarded makes these patterns easier to spot. It's less glamorous than secret plots, but far more common. And yes, being skeptical is not the same as being a party pooper. It's just a defense against being sold a ticket to a show that was staged from the start. When non-political theories become political, many ideas that begin as private worries or curiosity about health, technology, or celebrities end up on the public stage because they touch rules or resources that affect other people. A claim about a new ingredient in baby food suddenly matters when schools, clinics, or local stores might change what they buy. Short-lived gossip can become a rallying cry if it gets framed as a threat to family or freedom. This is how something non-political drifts into politics. It intersects with decisions that require collective action or regulation. Political actors, media figures, and social networks speed that drift along. A local influencer can retell a rumor as an example of government overreach. A politician can signal that supporting or opposing the claim is part of belonging to a group. Social apps reward dramatic posts, so the strongest feeling stories travel fastest. For instance, a technical worry about a new cell antenna can be recast as a liberty issue, producing heated town hall meetings instead of calm technical reviews. The result is the same. A topic that started as a question about safety or taste turns into a ballot box or a council seat issue. Human psychology helps explain why this happens. People tend to accept information that fits what they already believe and to reject what challenges it. That simple habit, preferring familiar stories, makes it easy for non-political claims to be picked up by one side and used as proof of a broader narrative. In practice, this looks like neighbors arguing at a barbecue about health advice they saw online, or parents storming a school board over a reading list after exaggerated posts circulate. It's not just noisy. It can change outcomes because elected officials respond to the loudest local concerns. Practical responses are possible and mostly low-tech. Separate the factual question from values. Ask whether the claim is about how the world works, a fact, or about what policy should be of value. Check multiple, trustworthy sources before sharing. Treat dramatic online posts like gossip until verified. Slow down and ask who benefits from turning this into a political fight. Bring neutral experts to public meetings and encourage local leaders to address concerns with calm explanations rather than partisan framing. A little patience and a few good questions often keep everyday worries from becoming headline battles, and your next neighborhood potluck might stay peaceful. Debunking techniques for non-political claims. Non-political conspiracy claims often cluster around everyday topics like health fads, consumer technology, and viral videos, and they can spread just as fast as political ones. Start by tracing the claim back to its first appearance. Who said it? And did they link to actual evidence or just another social post? Look for the original study or source rather than relying on summaries or dramatic headlines. Many times an exciting claim is based on a misinterpreted press release or a blog post that quoted someone out of context. If the source is missing or vague, treat the claim with caution. A short checklist helps. Original source, direct quote, and linked evidence. When you find a study, check what kind of evidence it actually provides and whether others have repeated it. Personal stories matter emotionally, but they don't prove cause. For example, someone might report that their headache went away after moving away from a cell tower, but that could be coincidence or another change in their routine. Ask whether other independent tests show the same result. Real effects are reproducible. Simple language works here. If many different smart people and groups test the same thing and get the same result, the claim is more likely solid. Spot common logical gaps and point them out gently, using plain terms instead of jargon. Correlation is when two things happen together. Causation is when one thing actually makes the other happen. A video of a phone overheating does not mean every phone will catch fire, and a single unusual product failure doesn't prove an entire industry is dangerous. Watch for cherry picking, selecting only the stories that fit a conclusion, and for moving the goalposts, where the claim's standards for proof change after each counterexample. Simple checks like reverse image searches for photos, looking up whether a device's behavior matches its manual, or seeing if reputable labs have tested the claim can quickly deflate wild assertions. Explain the findings in everyday terms and keep the tone kind, because people hold beliefs for many reasons beyond facts. Offer clear alternatives. Say, the video showed a hot spot of heat in one phone under unusual conditions, and more testing would be needed before blaming the whole model, rather than yelling wrong. A touch of humor helps. Point out that if microwaves made food radioactive, toast would come with a warning label. Finally, suggest reliable places to check. Well-known consumer testing sites, mainstream science communicators, or fact-checking organizations, and encourage curiosity over confrontation. Educational tools to teach critical thinking. Many teachers and parents use hands-on exercises and easy digital tools to help people tell strong arguments from weak ones. Practical checklists like the CRAP test, which looks at currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose, give a quick way to judge a source without jargon. For example, when you see an article about a health claim, ask if the source is an expert, whether other outlets report it, and if the story feels like an anno domini. Simple methods work well in everyday life. When a friend forwards a shocking headline, pause, read beyond the headline, and search for the same story on trusted sites before hitting forward. Short, repeated habits beat one-off lectures every time. Hands-on classroom activities make critical thinking stick. Set up a mock newsroom where students must verify a viral image before publishing. They run it through Google's reverse image search or TinEye to see if it's older or from somewhere else. Role play is useful too. One student plays an editor, another a source, and a third a skeptical reader asking for evidence. This forces everyone to practice asking clear questions. Games help as well. A version of two truths and a lie, where participants must present one false claim and explain why it would fool people teaches both how misinformation spreads and how to spot it. And it's fun, so learners don't notice their training. Digital tools are practical and accessible. Fact-checking sites like Snopes, PolitiFact, and FactCheck.org can confirm or debunk viral claims quickly. Use them alongside a reverse image search to catch manipulated photos. Browser extensions and news rating services can flag sketchy sites, but they're not foolproof. Always read a bit of the article and check who wrote it. Teach simple tech skills too. How to open the image link examine metadata basics, if available, or spot a suspicious URL. Students who could do a quick reverse image lookup are already way ahead of someone who shares a screenshot without checking. Teach habits, not just answers. Encourage the 5 whys approach. Keep asking why until the claim's basis is clear, and practice Socratic questioning by asking for evidence, sources, and alternative explanations. Use everyday examples. When someone says a new diet will cure everything, ask what studies support that, who funded them, and whether other experts agree. A dash of humor helps. Tell learners to treat wild online claims like gossip at a barbecue. Be polite, be curious, and don't spread it until you've checked with at least 2 sober sources. Engaging, not ridiculing, conversation strategies. People often turn to conspiracy explanations when things feel confusing, threatening, or out of control. Simple stories that point to a hidden cause can be comforting because they reduce uncertainty and make sense of random events. This happens in families, online groups, and the workplace alike. For instance, a coworker insisting a company memo was proof of a secret plot, or a neighbor convinced a strange illness is caused by a local factory rather than normal causes. Knowing that the drive behind these beliefs is emotional and social, wanting answers, belonging, or certainty, helps shape a kinder response. Listen more than you speak. Short silence can be a superpower. Allow someone to fully explain where they're coming from before offering a response. Try open questions like, "How did you hear about that?" Or "What do you find most convincing?" These nudge the person to unpack their own thinking without feeling attacked. Saying something like, "That sounds worrying," acknowledges the feeling behind the belief. People are far more likely to consider alternatives when they first feel heard. Ask for sources and offer to look together, but keep it collaborative. Instead of saying "that's false," suggest, "Let's check a couple of places and see what lines up." Bring up quick, practical checks. Who is reporting the claim? Do multiple independent outlets say the same thing? And is the original source cited? Demonstrate a simple habit like reading the first sentence of an article and checking the author. Doing this side by side turns a debate into a shared problem-solving task and reduces the need to save face. Use personal stories and modest claims rather than heavy-handed facts. Share why you found a different explanation persuasive. First read interviews with people involved, and their accounts made more sense to me, is softer than "you're wrong." Humor helps, but keep it gentle. A light joke about getting too excited over internet claims is fine, but sarcasm rarely helps. If someone's identity or community ties are tied to the belief, emphasize shared values like caring for family, wanting safety, or seeking truth. Those are bridges into respectful conversation. Be mindful of tone and body language. Calm voices and open posture signal you're not preparing for a fight. Avoid eye rolling. Yes, it's tempting, but that kind of expression usually shuts people down faster than any argument can. If the conversation grows heated, pause and suggest a break. Protecting the relationship is often more important than winning one exchange. Set clear boundaries when needed. If a friend repeatedly spreads harmful falsehoods or the talk becomes abusive, it's reasonable to say you don't want to discuss that topic anymore. You can keep respect while declining. First, care about you, but first am uncomfortable talking about this. And when persuasion is the goal, pick your moments. A casual chat over coffee works better than a public shaming on social media. Finally, model curiosity and good habits yourself. Admit when you don't know something and show how you find trustworthy information. Offer small practical tools. Check multiple sources, read beyond headlines, and watch for emotional language that tries to push you from thinking into reacting. These skills help people evaluate claims without feeling belittled. A little patience, consistent respect, and a willingness to explore the topic together usually does more to open minds than mockery ever could. So, quick wrap up. Conspiracy theories aren't only about politics. They pop up around health fads, UFO stories, tech scares, celebrity gossip, and even office rumors. People create them because of fear, uncertainty, or simply the human love of patterns and secrets. Simple checks help. Ask who benefits from the claim, look for trusted sources, and talk it over with someone you trust. For example, before blaming your cold on a secret lab experiment, check a health site or ask a doctor, not your neighbor who reads too many late-night forums. And remember, skepticism doesn't mean being a wet blanket. It means looking for good evidence. If this hit home, drop a comment with a strange theory you've heard. Bonus points for the funniest one. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode where we'll bust more non-political myths and give easy tips to spot false info. Share this with a friend who loves a good secret. Gently, with a cuppa and maybe some patience. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.